Welcome to this special edition of the Wide on Me Spotlight. I'm your host, James Lott Jr., here on JLJ Media. I'm the JLJ of JLJ Media. Yes, I am. And I'm doing a special mini kind of series of people who are fans of the show and why they are fans. And this person is starting it off. First off, a shout out to my co-hosts, Amanda Russ and Tammy Govea. We see you every Sunday here talking trash and what we love about the Young and the Restless every Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time here on JLJ Media. But this person has his own mini empire in the wrestling media world. He is an award-winning social media producer, the Wrestling Wrealm. But as part of this thing, he has that. Then he has the Ringer Wrestling Network kind of thing on Spotify, which has Cheap Heat, the Masked Man Show with Kaz, and my friends over at MacMania. So he's doing all that. We're going to figure out what that is. And apparently all good things come from Baltimore, Maryland. I know like 10,000 people from that city. Never been.
Nice.
Brian H. Waters. How you doing, Brian?
Hey, what's up, man? Appreciate you having me on here.
What is it about Baltimore? Because I have like 7 best friends who are from Baltimore, apparently. They're all from Baltimore. What is it about Baltimore?
We stay with a chip on our shoulder. We're looked at as the forgotten city in between Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. So we have to kind of remind people, like, hey, we're here, and we have a great football team. We have great crabs, and we got an up and coming, really good baseball team in the Orioles, which is a very historic franchise. So we're here, and we have the most electrifying quarterback in the NFL. So
Well, it's funny because I know some people from Baltimore who are out here in Hollywood and who are doing great things. And of course, one of my favorite shows of all time, The Wire. I've interviewed half those actors over the years from that show. Do you think The Wire captured the spirit of Baltimore? I always ask every Baltimorean this because I don't live there, but I think it
mhm.
does. I feel like it's a character of the show. But I know this one, but I'm curious for you. Do you think it captured as much as it could be for
I
television?
I am probably the worst person to ask that question because I've only seen season one.
Okay.
I
Okay.
got through started season two, started getting bored. Everybody says that's probably the worst one. I don't know. But for a long time, I refused to watch it because of the comparisons. And then one day I was like, I'm going to watch this. I'm going to give this a chance. I was like, okay. So from season one, I would say so. Every spot in Baltimore isn't like The Wire, but I could definitely feel like, yeah, this is a Baltimore show.
Yeah. No, and I get that. There's certain LA shows. I'm from South LA. I live in Inglewood, South LA. Certain shows, I'm like, okay, I don't, okay, whatever. I'm like, but then other ones I do watch. I love Insecure. That's my TV show. That's very South LA Inglewood focused. So I
Mm-hmm.
did watch that one. But there's other shows I'm like, just because it's from here, do I need to watch it? So I get that also. But I love The Wire. It's one of my favorite shows. Okay, enough about Baltimore. But I just know a lot of folks. All my shots to my Baltimorean friends who are in California making their way in the business. I want to make sure I get to
Mm-hmm.
them. But so first of all, there is this big crossover of fans. I'm finding out more and more who are soap fans and are wrestling fans. This is the reason why this podcast. I watched wrestling before you were probably born, back in the 80s and 90s, early 90s. That's when I used to watch wrestling. And I went to WrestleMania 5. I have my
Nice.
I wear that t-shirt. I was like, oh my God, t-shirt. I still have the t-shirt. It kind of fits. I still wear it. But I'm 800 years old. So I stopped watching. But black don't crack. So then I stopped watching. And then Flobo had me come on his Draped in Gold a couple of times. Which I'm sorry, folks. If you see that show, I'm crazy. I talk however I want. It gave him a high rating, so I guess that works. But I had watched wrestling like 30 years. Like I
Mm.
literally had not watched a match in like 30 years. And I found it to be very, I'm like, it is very interesting to see this stuff now compared to what it was back then. And seeing who are the wrestlers, male and female. I was like, I made some colorful commentary on those shows. You can watch those shows for that. But there is a correlation between soap and wrestling. So for you, have you always liked soap? Why not? Have you always liked both too, or did you like one first? Or
So I grew up a wrestling fan literally since birth. My mother, when she was pregnant with me, she was on bed rest and was watching, and she got hooked. And she said every time wrestling would come on, I would start kicking. And that's when she knew I was going to be a boy. It was confirmed. Back in '86, everybody didn't want to know the gender of the baby. So fast forward, after I'm born, her, my dad, my grandfather, my uncle, my grandmother, they would be watching it. So naturally, I would be watching it too. And as I grew up, I just stayed with it. The way I became a Young and a Restless fan, it's it's a funny story. I was living in Connecticut when I worked at ESPN. I came in town for my sister's birthday party. My mother, I flew in around, I left about 7, 8 o'clock, and it was about 45-minute flight. So we went to breakfast. After we went to breakfast, it's funny because I was reminding my mother of the story the other day.
Oh, funny.
Flew in for breakfast, and then we went to breakfast, and then we came back to her house, and she's watching Young and the Restless. Now, in every black household, when them stories on, you keep quiet. You only talk during the commercials.
Yes.
So I'm watching, and I don't have my car. I can't go see my friends, and everybody's at work. So I'm sitting there watching, and all of a sudden, I'm getting hooked. Now I'm gonna take you back to the exact story.
Oh, yeah, please. Tell me. Yes.
It was January 2014, maybe like the third weekend. So mind you, it's a Friday, so that's a Friday cliffhanger coming.
Yes.
What made me say I have to see what happens on Monday, Billy and Adam were out in the car. You know where I'm going with this?
I do. Oh, yes.
Delia
Yeah.
had just died.
Oh, yes. Oh.
And Adam had allegedly ran her over without realizing.
Right. We didn't see
it. Right. And Billy was holding Adam
hostage. Oh, yes. I know. Right.
And I believe somehow the car blew up or something. And Billy somehow made his way back to the house where Victoria was. I believe.
Those scenes are brutal. Yeah.
Yeah. And then next week on The Young and the Restless, I said, "Oh no, I gotta find out what happened." My mother said 12:30 Monday.
Okay.
So the best part was at this time I was working. Like I said, I was working at ESPN. I was working on a shift called ABC News 1. My shift was 5 p.m. to 2 a.m.
Okay.
So guess what? 12:30 I was gonna be doing, and my mother reminded me 11:30 that morning. I would always call every day, like, "Hey, we talk." Yeah. She said, "Don't forget 12:30, Young and Restless. Come on, you right." Turned it on, and I've been watching ever since. But that was the story that hooked me on. Woo! And then ever since then, I started just getting into it. And it's funny because I wondered, maybe because I was a child. So fast forward to I was 10 and 12 and 13. We would go to South Carolina sometimes to visit my Uncle Kurt and my Aunt Hazel, my dad's aunt and uncle. That's they're the rich uncle, the favorite uncle because my dad's father died before I was born. He was more like a grandfather to us.
Okay.
And my sister. So we would be sitting there. It would be exciting to go. But during the daytime, the adults was in there watching the stories. So I have memories of watching the stories, but I never stayed with a storyline. Yeah. But I can remember, I knew when Shamar Moore went on to do other things that he started, I guess I'm assuming he started with Young and the Restless. Yeah. I remember he was a staple on the show. Yeah. So somewhere in 2014, they brought him, 2014, when Neil was blind, they brought him on there. And then, of course, when Neil died, they brought, the real Christophe St. John, when he died, and, they had to work into the story, they brought him on. And I remember thinking, man, why can't he just have in wrestling we say one more run? Because I missed all of that.
Oh, yeah, he missed all that, yeah.
Yeah, but I would go back and go online and read stuff. And the cool thing about this thing called Twitter is when old stories are rehashed, I would tweet, "Well, why did this happen?" And then I would have a flood of replies.
I'll tell you. I'll have to tell you.
Yeah, and it's the greatest thing. People would say, "Well, this is what happened, and this is why." I never understood the whole thing with Drusilla, and then I, was able to get the backstory.
All of that, you've missed all.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, and people updated me the relationship that Devon and Neil had and whatnot, and I was so a lot of stuff I learned through Twitter, going to Wikipedia, going different websites, but Yeah, I got hooked in 2014.
It's almost 10 years. Almost 10 years. Almost 10 years. Yeah,
Right.
That's crazy. No, and folks, and you guys here watch this. You know that storyline was brutal.
Mm-hmm.
Woo! And still today, there's repercussions from that storyline. So there's still stuff going on there with that. And they kept the kid dead. They didn't bring her back. Delia is dead. They have not brought her
Yeah.
back. She's still dead. You know, so bring somebody back.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah,
have.
because that was the thing with Mariah. I was like, so what? Because that was early when I started watching.
Yes.
I think that was the first time I really understood how ruthless Victor was. And I was like, why is she dead? And my mother explained it to me like, no, you know, this is Cassie, and it's supposed to be the ghost of Cassie. But I was like, oh, and and so I would say like this show, this great show has made me hate characters. Ian Ward, gosh, I couldn't stand
Yeah,
him.
that's right. Oh my God, yes, yes.
When they killed off Hillary, I almost shed a tear.
Oh, yes.
I was like, why? And then when she came back, I was like the most excited, even though she came back as Amanda. What was Nick's girlfriend that died in the car? Sage. That was another tear jerker. What was that lady Jack was dealing with? Like,
because there were several ladies he was dealing with. So I'm like,
right. It was like she was remember she had blonde hair, and then they gave him a evil twin.
He was Marco. He was twin the Marco. He was Marco.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I forgot the lady's name.
Yeah,
she died too.
Yes.
So it was a lot of stuff, and it's crazy. Like you said, I ain't realized it's almost been 10 years that I've been watching, but it's been funny. So many stories.
Yes, I want to ask you some specific questions. This is good. You get some good stuff. This is really good.
Thank you.
It's funny because the show is celebrating almost 50 years. It's celebrating. It's my brother just turned 50. My mother was watching it when she was pregnant with him. So it's funny that this show's been on for that long, and it has a rich history of Black folks and Black characters. One of the few shows that literally has a large African American audience. I mean, so like when you say we all are parents, cousins, older cousins, aunties, the stories were on. You were quiet. You had to like be quiet while they were on. It's funny because for me, I joined it back in the 90s when there was Neil and Malcolm and Drusilla and Olivia. Like it was and Nate. It was the heyday. And when I interviewed Michelle Stafford, who's my best friend now, which is so weird that I can say that.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, well, okay, you go back in my archives. I've interviewed all these people for the show.
I've seen it. I'm gonna be watching.
But she said she brought something up there because I was friends with Christophe St. John. May he rest in peace. I'll get to him a little later. But the thing she says, she remembers because they were friends when he got in office. Because I noticed as a Black viewer, a Black male viewer watching it, when he got in office, he was like, this changes everything. That a young Black man got a business office on a soap opera that had never been done before. Wow. Not talking doctor's office, not talking like we're a Black doctor. I'm talking he actually remember he worked for Victor. He was Victor's protege. Well, no, you weren't there. He was Victor's protege. And I can tell you something. Eric Braeden loved Christophe St. John. When we did our interview a couple of years ago, he cried. He loved. I was going to tell you they were very close. When you say that out, but no, he got an office. Because whenever you get a set, that's a big deal. It's a big deal on soaps. You get a set. I don't know how it is in wrestling, like, but I know nobody on soaps. Like when you get a set and that's like it furthers your character. And so Chris, and I remember that myself as a young black man, just like 2 years younger than him. Me and Christoph were close in age. I'm seeing him, and I remember Shamar Moore's character came on as Malcolm with the cornrows and talking hip and stuff. And I was going, and I knew because I was in my early 20s. I go, wow, we're showing the range of Black men in America in these two characters in this Black man's set. A daytime TV show. Like I even knew how big that was. I knew it. I was like, we've never seen this before. Malcolm was from the streets, and Neil was a little upper crust. He came from the streets too, but he was upper crust. He was trying to be, a certain kind of Negro, as we said back then. But he was trying to get him, and it was like we have to see the contrast. We never saw it before. Black men were always portrayed as one thing usually back then. So I just knew for a fact. I knew that this is why I got to the show myself. I was like, I want to follow this and see where it goes. I want to
Mm-hmm.
see where it comes. I'm seeing myself reflected on screen. I'm literally seeing
Yeah.
brown people of different colors on screen. I mean, there's some who are lighter skin and darker. Anyway, I'm seeing it on screen, and so I thought I want to follow this along. And then you follow with the other characters too, of course, and everything on the show. But you at first that drew me in. Oh, quiet, Alexa, I'm talking. See, Alexa came on for some reason. It happens. But so for you, you're coming on such a heavy storyline
Mm-hmm.
over the years. Well, we'll say 8 years, 9 years. You've been watching it. What character do you like the most? Is there a character
Mm-hmm.
that you like love following the trials? So you kind of up and down and watch?
I really enjoyed Devon's character. I remember when Brighton James followed me on Twitter. It was like, wow.
Yeah.
It was because and I didn't realize until maybe watching after like 3 or 4 months. I was like, wait, he was on Family Matters.
Yeah, the little kid. Yes.
Yeah. But I really enjoyed his character. I think because him being a young black man and the dynamics of. So I have a thing with television, right?
Tell me. Tell
My
me.
TV morals never align with my personal morals. And so, for instance, did you watch Power?
Yes.
So I'm team Ghost and Angela. I
Oh,
shouldn't be team Ghost
oh,
and
yeah,
Angela because
very interesting. Okay.
yeah, that's not
So
his wife.
folks
I
on
shouldn't be rooting
power
for
anyway.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I'm team Ghost and Angela. Who else? I'm trying to think. Maybe like So I mean, that pretty much sums it up, right? So I was rooting for
Wait a minute.
him.
Are you that way with wrestling?
Yeah, I like the heels.
That's fun. That's really
and,
fun.
and
That's
and
really
that
fun.
changed probably as I became an adult for the
Okay.
most part.
Okay.
There's I think most of the time with the women I do like the baby faces, but in wrestling I'm a big Roman Reigns fan right now.
Like Roman, yes. Okay.
So
How funny. Okay.
when him at first I wasn't feeling the stuff him and Hillary was doing behind Neil's back. I'm like, come on, that's your
Exactly.
dad, his
Exactly.
blindness.
Yes.
But then I saw I'm like, well, y'all really love each other. And, I kind of understand. So he's one of my favorite characters. I always feel like I could relate to Nick.
Oh, funny. Okay. Yeah.
Being,
Okay.
because like Nick is like, he's his dad's boy, but at the same time, he's always trying to find his way and trying to prove himself and not trying to rely on his father too much. And I really, like Nick and Victoria remind me of me and my sister.
Oh,
Like they have that brotherly sister bond, and he'll
yeah.
do anything, especially now. The way he just saved her life
Yes.
with Ashton, it's like I understand. So, I really I sympathize with Adam
Yeah.
because I sit there and like you really are your father's child. Like everybody, because when I first was introduced to Adam and I start, because this is around the time when Jason. Remember when the other guy? Well, I think I only saw the Adam that most people knew one time because
Okay.
it was doing that
Okay.
fire,
Okay.
and then when they repaired his face, and then Jason Hartley took over. So funny story, I refused to watch This Is Us because the
Oh.
actor
Yeah.
who played Adam left.
Yeah.
And I was like, you get attached to the actors as well as the characters. I'm still trying to get into this new summer. I've been used
That's
to,
so funny. Oh my god.
yeah, like I've been used to the old summer for so long. I can't.
Her
Her
name,
name,
yeah. Her name was Hunter King.
Hunter King, and her name was escaping me.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
was like, because and then so I'm still trying to get used to
They
this.
move on, Brian. They have other things to do. They're young. Other things
Well,
to
see,
do.
I come from the wrestling world. That's it. We only get one Macho Man. Only one Hulk Hogan. So, you
That's
know,
yeah.
so I'm getting used to, the new summer. But so when Jason, I was like, I'm not watching it because they took the guy who played Adam and he was so good. But I like this Adam, but I'm looking at like this relationship, and then I root for him and Victor like come together, but then it's always something that gets in the way, and then they go the opposite ways. But yeah, Brighton, Devon was like probably one of my favorite characters.
Did you see my interview
And
with him?
Not yet. Not yet.
Yeah, I've interviewed with him. I like Brian, our friends also. He's great guy. I mean, he's smart
I
guy.
believe it.
He's been around
Yeah.
for a long time. He knew Michael Jackson. He knew about. He was around for a long time. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
And
he learned a lot.
my biggest, I was so happy when, Michelle Morgan came
I was
back.
going to ask you.
Because, I mean, she number one favorite actress.
Well, she won best. So I want to tell you a little side story. So I was at the Emmy.
Mhm.
I don't know if you watched any of my Emmy interviews yet, because I did all the Emmys interviews.
Man, I got a lot of stuff to catch up, man.
Yeah,
I
because
just got
I
introduced to
got,
your content, brother. So I just got a lot.
I love
Look,
it.
your watch, get ready. Your watch time, get ready to go up. Because
please.
absolutely.
No, but I got to interview her after she won the Emmy for lead actress, which again, I know you probably can relate to this too. It's always sad to have to say this: the first African American to win. I mean, after since but I want to tell you something. So I was sitting in the press room. The behind us, little inside people inside the scene. Behind us was the actual room they were filming it. And so the winners would tell us the winner is so and so. Oh my God! They come out, and I want to tell you something. There were a lot of black press there from various things. For some reason, we heard she won. We all kind of jumped at the same time and started screaming. And it's like, and we all kind of called her. So I was like, I was more excited than I thought it would be. I mean, I love her, but but we felt like when I said it, you'll swing. When I said it to her, I feel like we won. I feel like we won because it's such a shame that 50 years of this business, no other black woman has won it.
Exactly.
Has won it, and with her winning, and she was so beautiful in her dress, she was gracious and everything. It was just like, because for us, it was also, well, politics. Part of that win was also for Hillary also in some way. I think in some form back in the day. I think it was almost like a cumulative thing. It was kind of like we didn't give it to her for Hillary. She's doing great as as Amanda. So let's give it. She deserved it either way. I feel either way she deserved it. But I'm glad you brought it. So I just want to make you a little side. But we found all of us black folks got so excited. We had to like we all just do that the same. Like we all got so excited anyway. So
and I was that when they killed Hillary off. I remember being on Facebook, and I had like one of my coworkers. Shout out to Sharnita.
Hey, Sharnita.
She would we would talk about it at work. This when I was working at Johns Hopkins Medicine.
Oh, wow.
Neither one of us work there now, so we can say this. We would watch it at work, have it on YouTube while we're working. We were still being productive. Yeah. And she would come to me, hey, did you see this? And then she's like, you got to stop ruining it. Your Facebook status ruined it. And I remember I just put, she died in his arms, and I put the crying emoji when, she died after the after effects of the accident. And that one hurt. That's like, can't they fix something? What is wrong with these people? Who messed up the contracts? We need, she was representation. So one day I'm watching and I see like Amanda and she got the bangs and I'm like, oh my gosh. So then I'm like, all right, her and, Hillary and Devon had this great chemistry and they talked about it on like one of their sit downs. I said, how do they get those two back together? I know that sounds weird, because that's the sister, but they got to make it happen. So when they did, because first I was like, no, I ain't feeling Elena. No, like and then I was like, when I found out like they was dating in real life, I was like, man, now we ain't gonna get, Brighton and Michelle back together. Like I'm like getting into it. You feel me? Because like Young and the Restless is an escape. In wrestling, everybody like tries to break everything down. It's a million wrestling podcasts and we love them, but everybody like you get on Twitter, but it's still like with Young and the Restless, what there may be the community that tweets about rewriting the show, how they would write it, but most of the time it's really just reactions, right? Like in sports, it's the same way. Everybody can be a couch coach, but like Young and the Restless, we can literally, I just like reacting to what they're giving me, not trying to. But in this case, I was like, all right, but so when Devon and Elena broke up, and then Hillary and Nate Amanda and Nate didn't really like work out. I was like, yes, all is well as well. So like when they have the wedding, I'm gonna be excited about that.
Yes. Well, I'll have to have you on the show when the wedding happens. Sometimes you have to have a guest host of the show.
Okay, that works.
Yes, that works. No, it's funny because again, it's a soap opera. I mean, they get rid of people, and sometimes they bring them back, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mixture of all kind of stuff. But yes, but for us, the fact that we can have a conversation about these black characters, not every
Mm-hmm.
show has that. They were front burner staff. I mean, the Hillary thing was so crazy because after that was the whole part of the storyline where Devon and Lily got into a fight, and she went to prison
Mm-hmm.
because that was
Yeah.
that was a crazy. I was like, because I mean, she did kind of. I mean, kind of call. I mean, it was like, oh, it wasn't on purpose or anything. It was like she didn't like Hillary. It was a good storyline. It was a good storyline, but it was kind of like, wow, they really went there. And I remember I was like, but you can't bring up Devon and Lily, they're brother and sister, and like they're so close. And now they're close again, obviously, but it's like it was like I have to ask. Okay, I have to ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
I posted a tweet because I stir the pot all the time. I post a tweet. I get in trouble all the time. As the young kids, I get to smoke all the time. I get to smoke all the time. I don't care. I fight for all kinds of stuff. Over the last year, Y&R has disintegrated a bunch of black business with all these different mergers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I put a post saying that I personally don't think Neil would have wanted them to go with Chancellor. I think Neil he built his business on his own. I don't, yeah, Devon and Lily working together, he may like that, but I don't agree with that. And anyway, so I don't know for you if it made any difference that Hamilton Winters is gone, that Imani and Amanda had their own little law office that's gone. Like I don't know how you feel about any of that. So it just seems like they're all underneath Chancellor, which is a white led person still. Jill still in charge of all that stuff. But I love Jill, don't be wrong. But I'm just curious, did you have any thoughts about any of the I mean, some people have really big thoughts about that. And some said they didn't care. Lily and Devon are still co-CEOs, they're still talking. So any thoughts on any of that?
No, I mean, you brought it to my attention. I'm like, wow, I guess because by me still seeing them in CEO roles
Okay.
and roles of power, I'm fine with it. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad you did put the tweet out though.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I mean, that does say something that they are still CEOs. I mean, like they're not.
Mm-hmm.
There's something, but I'm just like for me, it was like a little just always little things I notice here and there. So I get paid to do that, of course. Like you do with
Mm-hmm.
wrestling, so you get paid to look at all the angles. I do
Right.
get paid to look at stuff like this. Like, oh yeah, I just like there's a little like I love me some Hamilton Winters. That was my whole thing. Um, so again, you missed the big heyday, but
Mm-hmm.
you did get some Christoph St. John as Neil.
Yeah,
And so what were some of your thoughts about his character and him?
man, I loved it because he was just like, such a stand up guy. That's why I was so conflicted when he was blind because it's like, you going to do that to him? And I remember because as I'm starting to watch, this is when him and Hillary were starting to hang out because another favorite actress of mine, Angel Conwell, and him was
Yeah.
engaged. And I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. And then they started breaking up. I'm like, oh man,
I
but
know.
because he wanted to marry her, but
Mm-hmm.
she didn't seem to want to go that route. And then next thing I know, him and Hillary was together. And everybody, like I saw a couple of other people, like older people on my Facebook said, no, this didn't work. It's not gonna work. She should be with Devon and all this stuff. But overall, I like this character. You know, I remember, well, before I get there, but I'll talk about some of the stuff I enjoyed, like, and I was just interested to see where him and Ashley was going.
Yes,
And that's
exactly.
the thing that I think a lot of people may have forgotten about because it was like they had, I remember they had like they shared a kiss and it seemed like they were getting ready to get together, but overall, like for him to even forgive Devon, I thought that was huge.
Yes.
Uh, you know, it would have been nice to see him like Moses when Moses came over. It would have been nice to see how that would have played out. Even him being there for Devon when Hillary died.
Yes.
So it was tough. When he passed, I remember that morning, get ready for work. Oh no, I was at work and I was about to walk in, and I saw it on Twitter and I'm like triple checking,
Yes, you have to nowadays.
and yeah, and I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta call my mother. And I called her. I said, Ma, are you woke? Yeah. Have you been on the internet? No, what's wrong?
Oh
my Christophe St. John died. She's like, huh? Are you? I was like, yeah. And I said, I just checked to make sure it's not a hoax. And I said, I ain't want you to find out by just scrolling. Cause like, you know, my mother can, you obviously like, you know them. But for us, we know them from television. We spend our lunchtime with these people.
Right, right.
You know, so, you know, like how many times they didn't kill Victor on TV to the point people on Facebook, is Victor really dead?
Right, right,
You
right,
know?
yeah, right.
But that's the character.
Yeah.
You know,
This was the
when
actor.
the actor, and you know, it was just like calling about a family member, you know, and you know, it was so sad. And you know, like I said, that the series has definitely given me some tear jerking moments, and you know, that was one of them. And I thought it was beautiful. And one of the things, like I remember what Shamar Moore said, whoever like wrote the eulogy in the script was exactly on point the way Malcolm would have delivered it and the way he would have delivered it.
Yeah. Well, he saw, well, you know, Shamar cites Christoph as like a big brother, walked him around the set, taught him stuff. And I, as a person, the interview that never happened was me and Christoph St. John. We were friends. I put out that famous picture from the Emmys before he died, and I was interviewed that morning. I didn't go on interviews that morning, certain shows. Now I was the soap person they knew. And I actually knew him too, and we had talked like 2 weeks before about him coming on my show. We were going to do a sit down, famous James interview, just James and Christoph, everything from his childhood. Because I remember at the Emmys, I said this out in public, so it's nothing I'm saying I haven't said it before, but just for you to know, at the Emmys when I saw him, he had been off for a while. It was his first big after his son had killed himself. It was his first big back, and I said to him, "It's so good to see you back." And he was so genuinely like, "Thank you." And he said to me, "This is all I know is acting. Since I was a kid, this is what I do." And so he was ready to come back. And it was just too much for him. The person just losing his son was too much for him. But he was happy to be on set. And I'll tell you, I had questions ready, and I was going to have this. For me, as a black man talking to a black man in the business, around the same age. Yes, I said he's not just when he died. I said he's not just a soap loss. It's a television actor loss. Because a lot of folks do it for bad news bears when he was a kid, and he does other stuff. But he's just somebody. If you didn't watch the Restless, you've seen his face before. You've seen him before, or heard his name. He was on Generations, which was a groundbreaking soap opera that lasted 2 years. That it didn't last a long, but he was on that. And so it's just kind of like he was such a.
Wasn't he on Cosby Show? I think.
Yes. Oh yes.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, he did a lot of episodic TV as a young kid, teenager. So he was. I said it was a loss for everybody. So for me, it's the interview I never got. We were working on it, and I to this day it made me sad that we didn't at least have that one interview out there to kind of for the people to have. He didn't do very many interviews, but I can see the pain. I can see the pain in his eyes. I can see the pain behind his eyes. It's just tough. I have 2 daughters. I have 5 grandchildren. I could not imagine losing one. I don't know what that feels like. I couldn't imagine losing my brother 6 years ago was hard enough for me. We were super close. I can't imagine losing a child. So I was like, that's. Right. He just never really recovered. But he was an actor who liked to act. And he represented us very well. I mean, he represented black men, especially on soaps, very well. And Shamar Moore gets it. Shamar Moore never shits on soaps. That's what I like about him. He's like, yeah, he's a big star. He's on other things. He did Soul Train. He's doing SWAT or whatever. But he never looks down on his soap time, which is something I think is very classy, I think, also. Because you know this from wrestling. Soaps, wrestling, there's certain things people look down on all the time. They look down on it. Yep. It's like, it is legitimate entertainment, right?
Exactly.
It is. It's legitimate entertainment. And I think so we got to talk about Victor Newman, because every once in a while on Twitter, I'll see a trending topic. I get scared because I'm friends with Eric. I'll see either Eric Brain or Victor Newman. Like, okay, what happened? He's still around. Okay, he's still here. But usually it started from black men. And you saw I asked that question to him on the show. Because, no, seriously, almost every black dude I know, straight, gay, bi, tri, whatever they are, from all over the country, no matter, they love them some Victor Newman and some Eric Braeden. So I got to ask you, Why do you like Mr. Victorious Newman? That's why he's named his name. Why do you like him?
I mean, he goals. Everybody wants to be the fact that he's willing to do any and everything to protect his family. That right there. Um, I always like finding gifs or memes of him when somebody say something crazy, shoot it in the text
Yeah.
because everybody know who he is.
Oh, they do.
You seen the meme. You was raised by your
Yes.
grandmother. If you know who this guy
Yeah.
is,
Yeah. Yes.
uh, you know, because even though he can be the bad guy, he's the cool heel. He's the Ric Flair of soap operas. You know,
Yes.
I think I could say that, right? Is that cool? Because I know Flair been in, it's a little trouble here and there. But it's
well, yeah.
But as far as people regarding as the greatest of all time, the cool heel having the swag that you want is Victor. You see this guy who has a tenderness for his grandchildren. And when it comes to his children, if he feels he's going to do whatever, like getting Ashton's body removed, that's what you do. And so for me, it's like goals. Like I want to have that type of money. Somebody mess with my child, pay them $500 million to go away, and it don't even put a dent in my pockets. That's the goal right there. Somebody who act crazy, have call my private security, have them watching them to make sure they don't get out of line. And then that's the thing, like with Adam, if you're like, look, Adam, you got all the benefits and the privileges. Just fall in line. That's it. Just fall in line, Adam. That's it. Nick, stop trying to look. It's okay. You've been born into this privilege. Sometimes I look at Abby, and Abby's so good because sometimes she could come off as the youngest flighty one, but sometimes she understands the privileges she has, and she's often caught in between because she's Abbott and a Newman. Yes. But for Victor, what makes Victor goals is because he can sit back, smile, have a good time, and he can cut you the whole time while he's doing it.
Yeah. I love when one of the younger ones comes up at him and he just starts to smile or he'll fold his arms.
Yeah.
Like, he look at you like, okay, sure, okay. I guess like, oh my God, it's Victor Newman, right? It's Victor Newman, right? It's him. Like, and he goes, go ahead and talk. He's like, go ahead and talk. Just go ahead and talk on smack, and he'll take care of it. And then when he's had enough, though, I said that scene I said with him and Ashton at the jail, and he grabbed the bars. It was like he had enough of his mouth. He was like, "You're leaving. Like you're gonna go. Like we're done with all this." And that's what you saw Victor. I call him Victor. Eric laughed when I said about that scene. I was funny because I said when your character walked up to that jail, it's nice to see you, and he's behind bars. That was just hilarious. I mean, it's just like that's what he does. But yeah, I love it. Yeah, Victor, he'll offer you a glass of scotch and cut you down to nothing at the same time, which is like, we all want to do that. Sure, I want to do that too. Sure.
You remember? I think his name is what's this? I think it's Cedric or Derek Williams who's playing. He was
the light-skinned guy with the pretty eyes. I think it was Roderick in real life or something. Williams, like
Roderick Williams, yeah. Angel Conwell's character is little brother. Yeah, and he was engaged to Abby.
Yes,
this was like very brief, and I remember when he finally gave him the stamp of approval because it was weird because it's like your daughter is gonna marry a black man. You're gonna be okay with this, and it was like. And mind you, I'm not even 6 months old into my Young and the Restless fandom yet. But I remember just watching this and wondering how is this gonna go? Because he's rich. And it's like a certain wealth and a certain perception. Like if she was to date a black guy, he has to be of certain status. And then when he like gave him that handshake, it was like to me, it was like if I had like it was like, yeah.
Yeah, Victor's not racist, and neither is Eric. Eric loves black people. Trust me.
Right, I could tell. Yeah.
Oh, he does. He comes to the hood. He goes to places I don't go to anymore. I'm like, I don't go over there. But no, the thing is, Victor was. That's why he took in Neil. He saw Neil, and when he was young, and said, "Let me help you out." And when Neil tried to go on his own, he gave us but like a proud father kind of figure. Gave us like, sure, go do it. I mean, like he was, you know, he had no Victor, which you're right, because you would think this rich, powerful white dude would not want his kids with something other than white. But he's never done that. He's never, and you see how close he still is with Devon because of Neil.
Yep.
He loves Devon and Lily. They're always, I love when they talk and stuff. And he's always, they may play, Victor's many things. But that's one thing he's not, which I think is very interesting because we've never seen that before in a rich white character. We've never seen that.
Bingo.
Yeah, we've never seen that. So I think you're right about that. So I have to ask you, because Flow Boys, my best friends, hates this analogy, hates it. My brother and him both gone back and forth about this. Is wrestling soap opera or comic book? What is
it?
I would say he hates the soap opera reference, but I'm going to ask you, the man of the mini empire of the Ringling Wrestling Network over there on Spotify. What is it? Is wrestling soap opera or a comic book?
I would lean more towards the soap opera, but also I wasn't a comic book fan, but I know enough, maybe enough to understand what a comic book is. But I always said this when people say, "You watch Young and the Restless?" My first response was, "I'm a wrestling fan." That's all wrestling is a soap opera, except the way they handle things is they get in the ring, they ring the bell, they have collar and elbow, 1, 2, 3. But the part of wrestling that keeps you hooked is the storylines. It's not like, it's a reason why WWE numbers are better than AEW's numbers, because AEW wants to sell you on the wrestling and the good collar and elbow. We're going to have 5-star matches. And somebody was on Twitter going back and forth, and Kevin Nash said, cool, how much did his merchandise sell? Because the storylines and the catchphrases is what sells the merchandise. And therefore, wrestling is a soap opera. We think about the McMahon-Austin rivalry.
Oh, yes.
That was all soaps. Stephanie McMahon turning on her father to join Triple H after Vince was trying to fight for her honor. And she said, no, Dad, because Triple H, you sacrificed me for Stone Cold because your hatred for Stone Cold, I never forgot. And Triple H turns me on. That's soap opera. Like, to me, Vince McMahon was like Victor Newman. So yeah, wrestling is all the way soap opera.
Take that, Flobo.
Sorry, Flobo. You my guy, my brother for life, but it's soap opera.
Well, the way you explain it, I get it. Totally get it now. The way you explain it. I mean, the way you're explaining it is, and I think there's something wrong with comparing. And Flo doesn't have any problem with being called to. We always go back and forth about it. He thinks it's more comic book, but I think, that's what it's almost, because there are some people who write these stories, folks. There are stories that, yes, it's just a different format. It's more of a sports format than a acting on stage format, which soaps are. Soaps are basically stage plays every day. That's basically what they are. And wrestling is stage in a ring. So it's kind of like that's what those are. And it's funny because you're right, because when I've watched a few of the latest WWE Next and Next UK and those, they tell you the story. They tell you all these stories and the rivalries and even while they're fighting and the girlfriend's on the corner over here and they hit that. It's like, it's all pageantry. It's all, even the songs they choose, and it's like it really is. The outfits they're wearing, like, it's all means something. And I totally get it. And I always thought it's very soap opera. Obviously when I was coming up, it was soap opera. I don't know what it's like before. My great grandfather was a wrestler, Reginald C.
Nice.
So he just got his due recently because no one really talked about him before, but he was a wrestler. So wrestling's been my family's for generations. But I don't know, back then it was more pure wrestling. He was a Muslim wrestler, so it was very different back then. But I know that when I came up, it was very much Captain Lou Albino and Hulk Hogan and Randy Rupp. It was all spectacle. It was all clothing and spectacle and story. And I saw, that's kind of what I saw growing up. That's, to me, that's soap opera. That's drama. That's whatever all that is, right? It just is. So I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you got to say that. Thanks for being on the show. Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
so you have to occasionally have to just reach out to you when a big thing happens on Y&R.
Okay.
Invite you on the show. You can talk with us, talk about it.
You might have to get my mother on.
I'd love that too. I bring everybody in the whole family. We're welcoming on our shows.
Yeah.
It's on Sundays. I'll tell you, it's on Sundays when we do it. But other than that, yeah, I guess you're welcome to. Now you're part of the Y&R family with us. So you can join us for that.
Appreciate it. I can't wait to go back and watch a lot of your interviews.
I have
I'm
a
dead
lot.
serious.
I've interviewed so many. JLJ Media.
Yeah,
I've interviewed them. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw like when I was on looking at the because I was driving home from church and I put on the Victor interview and I saw like who else you had on. I was like, oh, okay, this is gonna be fun.
You want to watch the Peter Bergman one too because I mentioned some stuff on that one. Before your time there was some they had an on-site fight. So
Who?
Peter Bergman and Victor and Eric Braeden.
Really?
So you've not read his book then, have you?
No.
Oh, he came out with a book 2 years ago. He tells everything.
Wow.
I had him on my show. I interviewed him for that book too. Oh no, it's no holds barred. And that rumor, like they got into actual fist fight. Oh, it happened. It's all out there.
Wow.
Yeah, but they're friends. They're totally friends now. They get very passionate. And there's certain. I've interviewed Millie Thomas Scott, Sharon Case. So I've interviewed everybody except for Joshua Moore. I've not interviewed him yet.
Really?
I want to know. He's on my list. Yeah. But Brighton James. I've interviewed all of them. So you'll see that. So you'll see all those. And they're
fun. I can't wait.
yeah, lots to listen to. They're all on. Absolutely. So folks, they're all on Spotify. They're all on Apple, Google, wherever. And the video versions are on my YouTube channel. Brian, it's your turn now to promote the F out of yourself. Tell me what they do.
So make sure y'all check out my podcast, Breaking Through Glass Ceilings, where I have people come and share their inspirational stories and how they got started in their careers. Make sure you check out the Wrestling Realm, my wrestling podcast, and of course the Ring of Wrestling feed, where me and Flobo, Evan, and Jack do Mac Mania every Tuesday. You can also check out Cheap Heat and the Masked Man, and then also check out the Book of Wrestling, which showcases 25 catchphrases from the Attitude Era. I'm the producer. That's hosted by David Shoemaker, who is the Masked Man. So make sure you check that out. And, not to be arrogant, but if you Google Brian H. Waters, all this will come up.
Be arrogant. Shit. Google James Lott Jr. All my shit come out too. I do. I
gotta get you on Breaking Through Glass Ceilings.
But see, you worked hard to get on that Google first page. So that's right, bitches. Take that. He worked hard to get there. No, everybody just get there like that. He worked a lot to get there. And I like my hardworking black men. That's right. So support him, please. I do. Everyone, James Lott Jr. everywhere. Of course, I'm everywhere you want to be. We're all James Lott Jr.'s sold at James Lott Jr. And making fun of my friends, but do check out Mac Mania. I want to say that because you guys all know Flobo and Jack from the shows that we're here. You may not know who Evan is. We're both ex-AfterBuzzers. That's how we came from. So check that show out. It's out on every Tuesday, right?
Every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday. So check that out. Spotify, check that out. Subscribe, like them, comment for the commentary because they're funny and they have a good time. And Brian's on there too, so you'll see him on there. Again, everybody, please take care of yourselves. We'll be back with the White Army Spotlight in a couple of weeks, but we'll see you next time.